we had some ideas of stuff that we were going to do for this week, but then, a certain season finale happened this past Saturday,
Ooh, it did.
and we were like, well, I guess we got to talk about that now.
I mean, you make it sound like we were hesitant on
But
it,
no,
and we
we
were
were
not at
not.
all. We were like, yeah, we got to talk about this. This is going to be so exciting.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about anime, video games, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Owl and Ladium.
Hello.
And I don't know if I said this. This is episode 88. And, we're here.
Oh, we should have done that one next week so it'd correspond with the year.
Oh, that's true. Well,
Darn.
shoot.
Oh, well.
Those things happen. We're here to talk to you about a certain anime.
Mm-hmm.
Third part, second season, technically. Things are
Yeah,
confusing.
I mean, the parts in the seasons of this show are kind of wonky, but whatevs. It's great anyway.
That's 100% true. Am I dumb? I might be dumb.
Are you?
It's a real question I'm asking right now.
Why are you dumb?
I'm trying to find something. Oh, okay. I just hadn't found it, clearly. Back in April of last year,
Oh.
we talked about this anime and the first two parts of it. Technically, they call it Season 1. It's a little thing they call JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had just wrapped up. Apparently, we wrapped that. I don't.
We finished watching Battle Tendency on Toonami.
Okay. Was there like a big gap in between Battle Tendency and Stardust Crusaders happening? Because this wiki date just seems like it's weird. I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe we hurried through Battle Tendency. I don't know. But either way, we recorded this in April of last year, and since then,
Got to hear all my feelings
Yes.
on JoJo at that point.
got to hear all the deep feelings about JoJo at that point. And then since then, we have been knee deep in watching the next part
Basically every weekend.
every weekend, watching Stardust Crusaders.
Mm-hmm.
Which going into this, it's a lot of people talk about Stardust Crusaders they talk it up very big. Like this is a great series for an anime. Like if you wanna get into JoJo, this is definitely a series to watch.
Right.
And before we watched it together, I watched the first couple of episodes in Japanese, and then once you started watching the English dub, I started watching that with you, and that's how we kind of went forward. So I didn't really know much about what was happening. I knew a couple things, but not a whole lot. Also, I knew some stuff from the PS4 JoJo game, which kind of spoils the end of Stardust Crusaders.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. So I kind of knew a few things here and there, but not a whole lot. And you didn't really know much of anything either, so.
No, what I knew is that Battle Tendency ended with Joseph going to Japan and loving his Walkman.
Yeah, they did that time jump.
Mm-hmm. And so that was what I knew. And I'd seen pictures of Jotaro before because yeah. He's one of the most famous of all the JoJo's.
Yeah, he's
and
probably the most iconic out of all of them.
I would say so. So I'd seen pictures of him and I just didn't really know much about it. I don't think that there's anything else that I knew about it. Actually, yes, there was. The one episode with the gaming where there's the yes, 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 yes.
Uh-huh.
I had seen that. I'd seen the entire just yes, 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 no, 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 and then all that stuff. But I didn't have any context, and it was very confusing. And it was in Japanese, so.
Yeah. So yeah, we were basically kind of going into this for the most part pretty blind, but for the most part, the premise of Stardust Crusaders is pretty simple.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, the coffin that Dio was in from the finale of part 1 has been found, and basically it gets opened up and nothing's inside of it, or it's like locked on the inside, and then basically Dio gets out.
Yeah.
As you see from the finale of part 2, Joseph is in Japan and he is going after Jotaro, who's in jail. And then basically he brings Avdol with him, and they get him out of jail. And then Joseph kind of lays out the plot of what Stardust Crusaders is going to be, is that, hey, look, our family has this like wild history with this dude named Dio. Like, my granddad like fought him and gave up his life to try and beat him, but it seems like he's kind of back, so we got to go kill him.
Yeah. Also, you have Stance, which is basically a persona.
Yes. Which I guess technically this is the Persona didn't come first. Yeah, it came before Persona. So
yeah,
this is one of the things where you can look at and be like, oh, this is where they probably got the idea from for Persona. Or at least it was inspired by, per se.
Also, one thing I want to say before we get too deep into the plot, one of the reasons why I was so hype about this was more Matt Mercer.
Yeah, the English, if you have not like looked at the English dubcast or like seen any clips of it, like it is
phenomenal.
Amazing. Like parts 1 and parts 2 obviously have a great cast as well. And
Ben Diskin was great.
Yeah, and Viz really just like continued that with part 3, where they throw out like heavy hitters everywhere for this cast, and it's amazing. Like you said, Matt Mercer is great.
I was gonna try and make a joke about knocking it out of the park, and then just trying to like figure out how to work in, oh, that's a baseball, but it just doesn't work out. But anyway,
you knocked it out of they knocked it out of the park like, oh, that's a baseball.
The cast is ridiculous. So good.
Patrick Sade says Dio is top notch.
Oh my god. Super
notch.
Good. Like, I was floored every time Dio is there. You can have like generic bad guy voice, but that is not what he has.
It's like it's so good. Like, it has the right parts of like menacing and creepy, insanity, all wrapped up into one. And so good.
And then there's Doug Erholtz as Polnareff, which is genius. So good.
Which is probably one of the things also they kind of talked about going into this was like, you know, obviously there's a lot of different nationalities being played in like the group dynamic where, you know, you have Jotaro as Japanese, Joseph is
American at this point. He was originally British.
He's American. Avdol is Egyptian, Kakyoin is Japanese, and Polnareff is French. But they're like, look,
Iggy is a dog.
Iggy's a dog. Like, you know, you could go off and go full bore without have everyone have like, you know, accents and stuff, but that's going to be a strain on all the voice actors. So there's like, we're just going to have them be voiced the way they're voiced and not kind of rely on that. And it works, I think.
It works.
Like you still know like oh, Polnareff's the French one because he'll spout off like French sayings and words every now and then. So like you don't really forget that. So it all works out, I think.
So good.
And Iggy's
just wanted to throw out that the cast was freaking phenomenal.
Fantastic. Like, legitimately probably one of the best dub casts that has come around in like the last 5 years. Like, you could put this up with like the Sailor Moon dub cast. Obviously Viz, those are both Viz dubs, so like they're legitimately knocking it out of the park when it comes to series like this. Like, they are putting in the right care and effort into like making sure that these dubs are the same quality that you would get from like the Japanese dub.
So good.
So good.
And also just more Matt Mercer. And we get a lot of them because Jotaro is our main guy. Which our introduction to him in that jail cell was hilarious, by the way. With him like with the boombox and it's just snacks. So weird. Yeah, he's got snacks and he's like delinquent and he's like, no, I'm just gonna stay here. This is fine. This is a good place for me.
Because he knows like something's wrong with him and he's like, well, I better stay in here just to make sure no one else gets hurt.
Yeah. And Abdul's like, yeah, no, come on, dude. It's not okay. And then like that's when you realize that he has star
Mm-hmm.
platinum,
Which he just thinks is like a spirit or a curse or something like that.
like an evil
Yeah.
spirit.
And the best part is like Avdol's been brought in to get Jotaro out of the cell, and he does that by basically just provoking him and trying to fight him. And it makes Jotaro just literally walk out of the cell, and then Avdol's like, all right, we're done. Mr.
Yeah.
Joestar, I have got him out of the cell. My work is done.
It's so good because he's like, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me. All right, he's good. Let's
Yep,
go.
we're done.
I love Abdul because he only fights when he absolutely has to.
Mhm.
He's kind of like the pacifist of the group.
But like when he has to fight, like you're like, oh, he's gonna
Oh
he's
yeah,
gonna put it
Abdul
on.
will mess you up when he does have to fight. But it's great that he like is because with JoJo previously, it's kind of been a situation where like, especially with Joseph, he was just ready to go anytime. He's like, all right, let's fight.
Mhm.
And so like having one of the first characters you're introduced to who's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this. We should just calm down and talk it out. I liked it.
But yeah, everyone's like, oh man, we gotta go fight Dio, because you also learn here that like, because Joseph Stan can like see him through like photographs and stuff,
Yeah.
and like you get a picture of Dio, and it's like his back, and he has the star on him, and you're like, oh, then you learn like, oh, that's the Joestar like birthmark, and you
Mhm.
also find out that like, oh, he stole Jonathan's body and put his head onto it
It's so intense.
to relive.
God.
It's ridiculous. God, this series.
Well, and then we learned that like Holly is suffering,
Mm-hmm.
which Holly is Joseph's daughter and Jotaro's mom.
And Holly's just weird because she's like super doting over Jotaro, and Jotaro's like, oh, I'm a teen, I don't need this.
Mom, I don't want your kisses.
Like you can definitely tell where she gets like more of like the loving side from like Suzy Q than probably Joseph.
Yeah, I'd say so. Although Joseph has moments throughout
does.
Stardust Crusaders that I'm like, wow, Joseph, I wouldn't peg you for that guy, but good on you, buddy. Also, I just have to say that it's wonderful that the way that Joseph uses Hermit Purple is just like smashing electronics
Yeah.
because I feel like that's so Joseph.
And especially it's like fucking late 80s camera, so it's probably like more expensive.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, this is an expensive habit, but I have to do it.
Yeah, he's smashing like straight up Polaroid cameras. I'm
Mhm.
like, Jesus, dude, those are like several $100s.
The Speedwagon Foundation will cover it.
I was gonna say, like, between the fact that Jotaro's house is like massive in Japan and like the fact that Joseph doesn't really seem to be hurting for cash,
Probably
especially
pretty
like
solid for money.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like Suzuki is living a pretty sweet life.
They have like, she has like a butler, like multiple butlers, and like
And
just
a
assistants.
driver?
Yeah.
And like that big open area house in New York City, which like Jesus. Yeah, they're not hurting for money, but
No.
even still, like they might start hurting for money if Joseph continues smashing Polaroid cameras repeatedly.
Ugh. Obviously, we're not gonna go episode by episode by this because we would
No.
literally be here for 5 hours, and I know like some
Yeah.
people like long podcasts, but that might be a little bit much. I think we're gonna kind of go that way for like the first couple, and then we'll diverge out of that because then it just goes into like, you're fighting the stand of the week.
Yeah. But for the first few episodes, it's like building the story and also like introducing characters. So
The second episode is also really weird because you get to insight into Joseph or Jotaro's school life, and like all the young women there are just like super infatuated with him, and he's just like,
and they're
I don't
obsessed. He's
care.
like, no, he wants nothing to do with it. But they're all like, Jotaro, I love you. And he's like, woman, go away.
And then he meets a new student by the name of Noriaki Kakyoin, who also like cuts his leg open and makes him fall down the stairs. But then he's like,
Yeah.
here's the handkerchief. And then, oh man, this is so one of the interesting things about the watching this on American television is that these were the unedited episodes, which
Yes.
Japan did not get upon first airing. And this episode really proved that.
Oh, right, because this one, like,
It's
when we were watching
violent.
it, very violent. I was on a delay
Mm-hmm.
from you, and so you're like, maybe don't watch this part very closely. And I'm like, oh no, oh God.
Well, I think it was maybe you had to watch it later.
It's
It
possible.
was one of the two.
But
But yeah, like, so Jotaro has to go to the nurse to get his like wound clean, and like there's some other dudes there just waiting, and he's waiting as well for the nurse to come. The nurse comes and she's acting all normal at first, and then all of a sudden she turns really strange and gets like super powerful, and then starts stabbing people with a pen. And at one point, she literally stabs one of the students' eyes out,
yeah.
and you see it.
Yeah.
Because like the original, I think Japanese airing had like they just like covered half the screen with like black.
Black, yeah, because they did that later with a smoking scene.
Mm-hmm. And then with this, it was just like, nope, you were seeing all of it.
Yeah, that is an eyeball getting stabbed with a pin.
That was rough.
It was a little rough, yeah. I fully admit that. I was.
Yeah. And then basically you find out that Kakyoin is controlling the nurse with his stand, Hierophant Green. So we get a big stand battle in the second episode in the like infirmary of the school. And Joseph's able to defeat Kakyoin and finds like this little bud in his like brain and pulls it out, and then Kakyoin's fine after that because he had been brain controlled by Dio. And then he just brings Kakyoin
really
home
timing.
and like takes care of him, and then Kakyoin's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna join you guys. Let's go fight Dio.
JoJo's like, I have adopted a new person. Hello. So yeah, we have the first crew.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna go kill Dio.
And this is also the time where you find like Holly collapses because like her stand's coming out, but she can't control it because she doesn't like want to fight.
Yeah.
And that's like the big thing there. So like, oh, they're like, oh well, she has been cursed. We need to go figure out how to deal with it. And this is like, oh well, we have to go find Dio now. Mm-hmm. And that basically is the start of like the big trip.
Which, man, Joseph really needs to stop going on airplanes.
Yeah. He really does. He just has some bad luck going on. He's like Leon Kennedy going on an airplane.
He basically is, yeah. Oh my God, Joseph, stay away from airplanes.
So they get on a plane and they're going to, I think they're flying they're going to fly to Egypt because they're like, oh, that's the easiest way to get there. Which obviously, if you know the how many episodes this series has, 48 of them to be exact, you will know that they don't fly directly to Egypt. A lot of things happen in between there. Basically, one of Dio's assassins is on the plane and is going to fight them, and he has the stand of the Tower of Grey, and they basically have to fight the stand on a plane. Also, trying to figure out who exactly is the stand user. Mm-hmm. All the while they're in a plane.
Tongues are getting ripped out. It's intense.
It's very bad. And then like the plane lands in like off the coast of China.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are right there. Following that, we meet our next potential party member in the French swordsman, Jean-Pierre Polnareff. And he has the stand Silver Chariot. And him and Abdul get into a fight. And eventually Jotaro comes in and everyone else, and they find out that that Polnareff is also under the Dio flesh bud thing, and they pull that out, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll hang out with you guys. Also, by the way, I'm looking for someone who killed my sister. He has 2 right hands, so if we can find that guy, I'm gonna murder him.
Yeah. Ugh.
So yeah, now Polnareff is along for the ride to Egypt.
Which I'm just gonna put it out here. Polnareff is one of my favorite characters of this arc. Period. I love Polnareff, and I did not expect that when he first showed up.
No.
I was like, oh God, who is this like guile? Like he's ridiculous looking, and he's so bizarre. But I love Polnareff so much.
Polnareff goes through like probably the best just character arc.
He has such a good arc.
Yeah, and like just
such
progression
a good
and everything.
Arc. Oh, I love Polnareff.
There were moments like later on in the series, which we'll talk about, where like he does some shit and we were like probably like jumping out of our seats like Yeah.
Oh God. Oh man, I legit love Polnareff.
hmm
And um again, later in the series we'll talk more about my love of Polnareff, but I did not expect it when he first showed up for him to become like one of my favorites of the series.
hmm
Period. 'Cause he's such a weird dude.
So following on that, they are going to go try to go to Singapore, and they get on a boat that apparently the Speedwagon Foundation has acquired, but it's got like the captain's a stand user, and it's all real bad, and he can like manipulate the water, but then Jotaro like punches him in the face, and it's all
Yeah.
good. Also, they find like a stowaway, and she comes along for like a tiny bit.
Yeah, and Anne has like a giant crush on Jotaro, which like same, but it's ridiculous because they think that she's a boy for a long time.
hmm
Um Also is the boats where they fight the gorilla stand, right?
I think it's immediate like the next episode.
Oh my God, that was so weird.
They find like apparently they find another like a freighter that they think is like abandoned, so they're just gonna use that. But then like there's a monkey on it who has the strength stand.
Also we get old Joseph in like a sailor suit at one point, and it's hilarious. Hilarious.
And then after that they're in Singapore.
Singapore.
Following that, this is the one where like they're in the hotel rooms, and then like the stand user, who is one of Dio's assassins named Devo or Devo, whichever you want to say it. You want to say
Didn't
like
they
the
change
band?
it for the English?
Probably. I would highly assume so.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the names that you do unfortunately get changed.
That's one thing we'll have to do at the end is who is your favorite musical reference?
That's true. So this is the one where like the stand user could like go throughout like the hotel rooms, and was like a doll.
Oh, the doll one was
Yeah.
creepy.
This is the one like Polnareff had to fight.
Is this when he was freaking out about the toilets? Because that was one
I
of the
believe
reasons I love
so.
Polnareff, was because Polnareff was really, really adamant about having good toilets, and I mean, same.
Oh, and then apparently also this is when like Joseph does the Hermit Purple to the TV, and Dio finds him,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Haha, you suck, Joseph!" Blows up the TV, and apparently
God.
there's a traitor among us.
Da-ba-bum.
Following that episode, this is kind of like parallel to what was happening with Polnareff. Jotaro's like, Kakyoin's being real weird.
Oh no.
And yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
This is the whole reason why I stopped liking him.
Because he was possessed and doing really weird.
He continued to do it even after he was not possessed.
Okay, fair.
He's a bad boy, and I don't like Kakyoin.
So Kakyoin gets possessed, or like one of the stand users like disguises himself as Kakyoin, and just starts acting like a real pervert.
He's so weird.
And is like has like he's got some candy. He's like
Cherry.
Oh yeah, he's got the cherries, and he's like, look at this cherry. Look.
Oh, I wanted to vom. I legit wanted to vom everywhere when he did that. And then like later on in the episode,
he does it
like,
again.
He does it again when he's not possessed, and he's like, "What are you looking at, Jotaro?" I'm like, weirdo, man. That's what he's looking at. Who does that? Nobody.
So the stand user who was doing all that was Rubber Soul, and he also reveals that like, oh, there's some other assassins coming after you. One of them is the man with two right hands named Jay Guile. And Polnareff's like,
And go get him.
Following this, we go to India.
India. Oh no, bad things happen in India.
Bad things always happen in India.
I mean, that's not necessarily true.
Okay,
but...
so this is the toilet one. Because Polnareff sees the stand in the mirror when he's in the toilet, and he realizes that that's the hanged man of Jay Guile's stand. Because that's the stand that could like go through like reflections and
Right.
And this is when like Polnareff is freaking the out. Also, this is our introduction to Whole Horse.
Whole Horse?
Whole Horse.
Our resident, it's a Hall & Oates reference.
It's going to be a lot of those references.
Oh my god, it's so good. Also, is it this one or is it there are several episodes where like old ladies hit on Joseph and it's hilarious. I can't remember if it
I
was
think
this
it might
one,
be
but
later.
I think there's one in a little bit, but anyway, continue.
So basically, Polnareff goes after Jake Isle and Whole Horse because he's like, I'm gonna murder this dude because I know who it is.
He did terrible things to
Mm-hmm.
my sister.
But things don't go that great for him, and he's about to get shot, but then he is saved by Avdol, who saves
Hmm.
him, but also gets shot the up, and also gets
Take
takes a bullet to the head.
Yeah, it takes a bullet to the head, and I was just like, you had to deal with me after that. I was crying because Abdul was like my favorite. I loved Polnareff, but at that point, Abdul was my
Mm-hmm.
favorite.
And it's like 10
And
episodes in, and you're like, they just fucking murdered Avdol. What the
I was so upset. Like I was legitimately crying. I was so upset about it. I was like, oh no, I love Abdul. This is tragic. And like I kept trying to think about like, well, what are they gonna do now? And like trying to basically grasp on anything that would say that like it didn't actually happen.
Because they kind of skirt around it a lot.
Hmm.
Because you never one of the things we talked about was like, oh, you never see him. They never see a body get buried, even though like
Mm.
Jotaro and Joseph like, oh yeah, we had to go bury his body.
Yeah.
So you never see that,
And
and
then
basically they don't really talk about it that much.
he showed up in the second closing, which I spoiled for myself, but I was like, he wouldn't be in that closing
Right.
if he was really
Mm-hmm.
dead. But then like they kept making it seem like he was really dead, so but he got shot right in the
Mm-hmm.
forehead. Yikes.
So like the next episode is continuing off that where Kakyoin and Polnareff have to fight Jake Isle and Whole Horse, and they eventually are able to, or Polnareff's able to defeat Jake Isle, finally defeating the person who like killed his sister. So he's pretty
Hmm.
jazzed about that. Whole Horse is like, well, I gotta go, but Jotaro gets him and like beats him up. For then, this is where like they're like, oh yeah, we just gave Abdul a burial. Yep, totally did.
Hmm. Super buried.
Uh, Polnareff's about to murder Whole Horse, but like some girl who is infatuated with Whole Horse like stops him, and then they're like, well, let's continue going to Egypt. Also, this is like when Joseph gets that weird growth on his arm,
Yes.
which that continues into the next episode where Joseph's like, this is real weird. I better go to the doctor. And then like he goes to get it cut off, but then like it just like grows a mouth and
It was creepy.
and like eats people.
Yeah,
And then
it's pretty gnarly.
and then Joseph gets wanted for murder.
It's quite the infection.
It's real bad. So he basically is like trying to figure out a way to defeat it because it's on his arm, but he's like, I don't know what the to do. My hormone's not doing anything. Everything's
Yeah, I
real
love that
bad.
he tried the hammer.
I did the same. Like it was like because we hadn't seen it at all so far. Because like, oh, he just has this stand now. He's like, oh right, he still has hormone. Yeah.
It's so exciting because he brings it out a few times throughout the season, and I was like, yes.
Eventually, he's able to get it off, and then like the lady that was Whole Horse's lover is the one that was the stand user.
And she's also like actually not a like beautiful woman
Mm-hmm.
as they thought that she was.
So basically, Joseph regroups with everyone, and they're off to Pakistan.
About that murder warrant, we better run.
Also, they're being followed.
Yeah.
They find their stowaway friend again, and then basically this car is trying to fight them. And the user named Zizi, I don't know what that's a reference to, is
Yeah.
trying to destroy them with a car.
It was intense.
Basically,
And it was also hilarious.
yeah. Eventually, they defeat it, and everything's fine.
Uh, the car is like really, really menacing, and then when they get to the actual guy, he is not at all menacing.
No.
It's really funny.
So basically, after everything that's happened, we're in this like weird, spooky town that's enshrouded with fog. We're in Silent Hill,
Oh, right, the Silent Hill town.
and we find like the old lady who is a part of Dio's group.
Entourage?
Yeah, And
some dead bodies.
yeah. So she's grabbed the Joestar group and then put him into like her hotel. Also, Whole Horse shows up, and he's like, he doesn't. I think he kind of doesn't realize like who she is at first, but then like he does. It's like, oh, and then she's like real mad at him because he tried to run away. She's gonna cut him up with her scissors.
Also, Jotaro does some like real sweet mind games there because he doesn't use his actual name when he signs the guest book. And then she calls him Jotaro, and he's like, "How'd you know my name?"
That's interesting.
I didn't sign the guest book as Jotaro. How would you know my name's Jotaro? I clearly do a good Matt Mercer impersonation.
Eventually, like Polnareff tries to like go downstairs and like he hears like some weird noises, and then she has to like hide Whole Horse's body. And then like Polnareff's like, "Oh yeah, thanks for everything," and she's like, "Oh, I hate you." So they learned that the old lady is using the fog to basically control everyone, and they're all like dead people. And it gets all real weird. They all try and attack everyone. And this is the part where you mentioned about Jotaro using a fake name and everything. And all that happens. And then Jotaro wins. That's how a lot of this goes early on. They take the old lady with them because they're like, we need to learn about Dio. I'm like, okay. And then Whole Horse steals a car. And he's like, hey, you should kill the old lady. That would be a good idea. Later. Gotta go.
Whole Horse is such a funny character because he just keeps popping up and failing miserably. Other than, shooting Abdul in the forehead.
So they continue on through Pakistan. And they find a store owner who turns out to be Steely Dan, who has the lover's stand. Kind of rhymes. He makes it so like the old lady doesn't spill anything about Dio. And then this is he's the one who has like the stand that can like go very microscopic and go into your body. So like part of this is like is Steely Dan making sure Jotaro doesn't beat him up, because if he does, like, Joseph will get beat up at the same time. And also everyone trying to figure out how to get the stand out of Joseph. And it's real goofy where like Jotaro's just like taking all this abuse and just like and then Kakyoin and Polnareff make their stands all tiny to go and fight the stand in Joseph's brain. It's real dumb.
It was literally like an episode of Magic School Bus, but with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
It really was.
It was great. It was really, really good because it's like, oh god, which part of the brain are we supposed to go into? I think this part. Whee!
And eventually they get it out. The lover stand tries to go into like some other person, but it gets caught, and then Jotaro just beats the shit out of this dude.
Yeah.
And it was real good.
It was.
So after that, we go through the United Arab Emirates.
Emirates?
Emirates. Joseph buys a really expensive car, and then he's like, wait, we need camels. We need to go. We're going through the desert. All right, cool. So this is like them going through the desert, but then like almost dying of heat exhaustion because the stand is the sun.
The sun. The actual sun.
And then they realize like, oh, well, like the stand is making like this mirror image occur throughout the entirety of this desert. And once they figure out where it's coming from, they break it and then beat up the stand user.
Again, a weak guy.
And then they're fine.
But the sun was about to wreck him. We get the baby too.
Yes,
at this point, don't
they acquire a baby during this because like there's this baby there, and the people are like, well, we need to find a doctor for this baby, and Joseph's like, I'll take the baby and get it to the next town. So about that baby, it's a stand user
with little creepy teeth.
It is the stand user who has the stand Death 13. And it can invade your dreams and cause real bad shit to happen.
Like carnivals.
Like carnivals. And then once you wake up, you don't remember it, but you're like, oh, I got cuts all over my body and stuff. Also, they're in a plane again.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because Joseph's like, I'll fly this baby to a hospital. Joseph's like, and everyone's like, Joseph, what are you doing? You can't fly planes. We know how you could deal with flying planes.
You are Leon S. Kennedy when it comes to planes. Stop with the planes.
So basically...
but basically, like, Kakyoin is the one who tackles baby.
Mm-hmm. And
he's basically doing it on his own.
Yeah, it's like Kakyoin, and then I think Polnareff gets in there as well. But Kakyoin kind of knows, he figures out what's happening, but everyone else is like, what the f*** are you talking about? Like, stop.
Why are you being so mean to this baby?
This baby's not doing anything to you. So, like, he's trying to do all that, and everyone else is like, you stop being a d-. But then eventually, everyone else gets thrown into, like, the dream world, and he's like, they're like, oh, well, gotta do this then. And essentially, Kakyoin summons his stand in the real world before he falls asleep so he could have a fight with the baby. And make sure that, like, the baby doesn't kill them. And then, afterwards, like, they realize what the baby's done, and then Kakyoin feeds the baby poop.
He feeds the baby poop.
He feeds the baby poop.
Censored baby poop.
Censored baby
but
poop.
Still. He's like, here, baby, you want this poop? And the baby's like, no, I know what that is. No!
Don't give me
Joseph's
the poop.
Like, here you go. You're going to eat this.
Eat the poop.
Which Joseph doesn't know in his defense.
Yeah, he's just like, this kid wants some food. Here's some food for you.
Healthy baby food.
So following this, we are going to go across the Red Sea, but we have to make a pit stop at an island. And it is apparently Joseph meeting Avdol's father.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, we talked about this. Episode 10 is where Avdol dies. We are now on episode 21. And in between then, we really haven't, like, talked much about Avdol. He is presumed dead.
Yes.
And then we meet his father.
Who is not wanting anything to do with any of them.
He's like, I don't want anything to do with you guys. Get out. So that happens, and then Polnareff finds, like, a genie lamp. And he's like, I'm going to make a genie. And then the genie appears. And he's going to grant Polnareff 3 wishes. And Polnareff's like, what? His first wish is like money, and then a treasure chest of gold appears. And then he's like, well, if that happened, what if I could bring people back from the dead? That would be cool. So he wishes that his sister comes back to life, and also Avdol.
Because he has a lot of regrets over how Avdol died, because it was partially his fault. And so these are the 2 people that he feels responsible for, and he tries to bring them back. And that's not a good idea, because the genies are bad.
So, like, his sister comes back, and, like, she is, like, naked.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, you're back alive. That's real rad. But she's like, I'm going to eat your flesh.
Yeah. And starts just, like, consuming his, like, shoulder.
It's real bad. He's like, oh, God, this is terrible.
You're not my sister.
And then
you're a monster.
And then the genie's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a stand. Sucks to be you. And then Polnareff's like, what if I wish my sister away? He's like, oh, by the way, you already wished for Avdol to come back. Here comes Avdol. And then this zombie Avdol comes and starts chomping on Polnareff as well.
Yeah, they're just eating his shoulders, and it's really upsetting.
And then
I don't know how he, like, healed from that.
Yeah. Polnareff's in really bad shape and is, like, trying to fight out of it, but he can't because, like, his stand's been nullified. But right before things get real bad, here comes Avdol.
Avdol, the
actual Avdol, and he saves Polnareff.
It's great. Oh, that was so satisfying. I was really, really happy.
And he's like, hey, that bullet? Yeah, it just kind of grazed my skull. I'm good. We're all gravy, baby.
Yeah. And then they end up peeing on the genie.
Yep, they beat up the genie and then pee on it.
Yeah, because he gets, like, the straw. He has the straw for breathing after he buries himself, and then they just both pee into the
And then, like,
male bonding.
Yeah, they reunite with everyone. And Polnareff's like, guys, Avdol is back. Holy shit, is this rad? Everyone's like, yeah, we know. We knew the whole time.
We're the
What are
ones who
you
put him
talking
here to
about?
recover.
And Polnareff's like, what the? Why didn't you tell me?
It feels so
And they're like, well,
bad.
we did this so like Dio wouldn't find out. We got to keep it on the DL. Also,
But also, we got a submarine.
he had to dress up real old like to buy a submarine for us. And poor Polnareff, he's like,
I felt terrible for him because he's been like really beating himself up over it, and they're just like, "Yeah, we knew, no big deal."
poor dude.
But I felt like it really helped Abdul and Polnareff become better buddies.
So after this is the submarine where like the stand on it can like take control of just various objects and stuff. But also this is where we Joseph's like, hey, so gotta make a call to my wife.
Yep.
She kind of doesn't know what we're doing here. I kind of haven't told her. So he calls Susie Q and is like, hey, everything's going fine. Make sure you don't go to Japan to check on your daughter. Everything's great. By the way, it's all great. Bye. But then like he's
she hears Jotaro at some point too.
yeah, like they're getting attacked like while this call is happening, and Jotaro has to say something, and she's like, oh, is that Jotaro?
My grandson.
My grandson. And then he has to answer a call from Susie Q, and she gets like worried. And basically everything that transpires, and then Susie Q is like, well, we're going to Japan.
The exact opposite of what he wanted to happen.
So the submarine basically gets destroyed, and they have to find like scuba gear to flee, but it doesn't really work. Also, the stand is like trying to bone Jotaro.
Yeah.
A lot of people just are.
Yeah. Also, this entire scene was hilarious with the scuba gear because they're like all talking somehow, but like nothing is actually transpiring. Because they have the scuba gear in their mouths, but they're all just talking. It's fine.
It's all good. Also,
Whatever.
like Jotaro beats up the stand by punching the teeth out.
Yep.
And then like they get on the surface and like, oh, there's the stand user. Just incapacitated. But finally, it has been 30 days since Japan. They have arrived in Egypt. It is now time to find Dio. Also, apparently they call Suzy Q and like, hey, we're fine. It's all good. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to Japan. Like, and also Dio is like murdering. Like there's a bunch of Speedwagon Foundation people who are like monitoring where Dio is, and he just murders all of them.
Yep.
And then also, the epilogue of this is a Speedwagon Foundation helicopter carrying a very strange passenger.
Ba-ba-ba.
So yeah, that's the first half of Stardust Crusaders in a nutshell. It's a lot of trying to get to Egypt and also fighting the Stand of the Week, and then it kind of continues that way throughout the second half, even though they're in Egypt. But it's still like, hey, you know, Dio still has dudes out there trying to kill us. Also, we don't know where the Dio is.
One thing worth mentioning though, the submarine stand user lady was Karen Strassman.
Perfect.
Real good. So I guess was trying to bone Jotaro.
It's real good.
Then we get like the Egyptian god stands coming after him, right?
Because we're in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Walk Like an Egyptian is over, though.
Yeah, we get to Egypt, then, oh, by the way, Walk Like an Egyptian's gone. We get a new ending.
Which made me not hate Walk Like an Egyptian for once.
There you go. Yeah, because I remember you going into this, and I was like, hey, Walk Like an Egyptian's the ending for the first half of part 3. And you're like,
yeah, I was real upset because I did not like that song. But the ending, like, visually and with the song, it's just beautiful, and it made me actually like the song.
And then with the second half of part 3, we get a new ending, which is also kind of very different from the rest of the endings that we've seen so far.
Oh, it's super different.
With Flash Train Home, because it's an instrumental compared to, you know, everything else that's been, you know, vocalized and stuff. But yeah, very chill. Also, just kind of, you know, for a lot of these episodes, you kind of need to chill after everything that happens.
You do, and you ended up having to deal with my My theories. I was screaming
Yes.
about theories because of Last Train Home, because like they kept showing stuff and I was like, that can't be accidental.
Mhm.
It can't be accidental. And like I'm pretty sure every single episode I texted you and I was like, three ticket theory,
Three
three ticket
Ticket
theory.
Theory. Yep, that was definitely a thing you mentioned constantly, and I think around this time as well, I was also like poking at you, like, hey, by the way, one of these people isn't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Someone dies here, but I'm not telling you who. But someone will die, and
Yep.
the Three Ticket Theory, which is of course, if you would like to explain it, since it is your baby,
Okay, my baby.
my baby.
And it's confirmed true. In Last Train Home ending, there's a scene where old Joseph is holding three tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that, I'm like, that's not accidental. Only three people are going to make it out of this. Because otherwise, why would you put three tickets specifically? It doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
Because I was thinking, like, you have, what, 5 humans and a dog at this point?
Yeah, because Iggy gets
So,
introduced
like,
here.
the dog wouldn't need a ticket, so I was kind of excluding him. But then it's like 2 humans will not make it, period. Because it just doesn't make sense.
Right, and also you have Joseph holding the ticket, so he most likely survives. Jotaro's going to survive because obviously he is in later parts of the series.
Right, we knew that those 2 showed up later, so I was like, only one other person will make it, and I wasn't sure who it was going to be.
It's either Abdal, Kakyoin, or Polnareff.
And I was gunning for one of them, but I was also real sad about one of them going. But my 3 ticket theory, it came about because of Last Train Home.
There you go.
Also, it's beautiful pastels all the time.
So this is where we get introduced to Iggy in the opening parts of the second half of Stardust Crusaders. He is a dog. He has the stand of the Fool, so he's basically a Persona protagonist.
He's a Boston Terrier.
And his stand can control sand.
He also likes coffee gum.
Yes.
And farting and chewing hair.
And making Polnareff mad.
Also hilarious that his art style changes completely from like this part where he's introduced to the very end. But
which I think that just happens in the manga as well. Where like
it does.
It's like a meme where Araki cannot draw Iggy the same. So the Speedwagon Foundation brings Iggy. They also learned that like Holly's in real rough shape. She only has like a couple weeks left if everything is potentially happens the way it is. Also, there's a helicopter that crashes, and it's like, this is real weird. And then they find out they're being hunted by a newsstand that also just is able to like go through the sand and sneak up on them, and it also just scratches Kakyuin's eyes, and he's like, oh god, I can't see. I'm done for.
And he's gone for like almost the entire season, or back half of the season.
So we learned that Indole, I guess that would be it. He's the stand user. He's also blind, so like that's how
he was pretty cool.
Yeah, he has to like figure everything out by like sensing everything, and also Iggy confuses him because he's a dog, and he doesn't have as like heavy of footsteps and all that stuff.
And can also use the Fool to float.
Yes. So that's how they try and defeat him, is by floating throughout it. But then like,
although Iggy is real mad at Jotaro for using his stand for floating. Yeah. He's like, no,
I hate this.
This is terrible. He hates Jotaro at first.
So they find him eventually, but then like Indole commits suicide, so he doesn't tell what Dio's planning and everything. There's like, well, crap.
Yep.
And then we just continue on. Also, this is where we meet the next week's antagonists in this episode, who are Oingo and Boingo, or if you want to be the English version, Zenyatta and Mondada. They are a pair of brothers. One writes a manga that speculates the future. Yes. And then
the other one can change appearances.
Yeah. So that's who we fight in this episode. We fight Oingo and Boingo.
Which, by the way, there is a really, really brutal scene with this where a guy gets like impaled on a like light pole a telephone pole or something. Yeah, that was really brutal.
That was messed up.
And the kid, I don't remember which one's Oingo and which one's Boingo, but the kid, one of them was like, I saw that coming.
I want to say his Boingo's the kid.
Okay.
Maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
Boingo is the kid.
Because Oingo's the one that is disguises himself in this episode.
Okay.
So they come up with a plan. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna blow up the Joestars." Oingo's like, "I'm gonna dress up as Jotaro, and that's gonna work." It doesn't work.
There's this entire thing about like Jotaro's head getting blown in half.
Yeah, so like he gets like a bomb that's shaped like an orange, but then everything just like unravels poorly for him
really quickly. They're kind of bumbling enemies.
So Oingo gets blown up by the bomb. I don't think he dies, but like he's just out of commission. And then Boingo's like, "Well, crap.
Bye."
Next up, we run into Anubis.
Oh, the sword,
yeah.
right?
Kakyoin's in the hospital because he still needs to have his eyes healed. And
he needs to get his sweet sunglasses.
He needs to get those sweet sunglasses. And then like we meet this like young dude who's like finds a sword. And then it's like, whoa, this sword's real cool. Oh god, it's murdering everyone.
Which is like the first stand that's been like an inanimate object, right? Because everybody else has been tied to a person.
I think so. That sounds about right.
But the sword is like a living sword.
Yeah, so like it can change multiple users throughout. So it takes control of this dude, and then Polnareff has to fight him because sword versus sword, clearly.
Yep.
And then they're like,
Polnareff wins.
Yeah, Polnareff wins, and they're like, oh, everything's great. Let's go to the barber shop. And then, whoops. The barber gets possessed and tries to kill Polnareff.
He wanted to get a shave, and he was going to get a very close shave.
A very close shave. So Jotaro is able to deflect that by breaking the sword in half with Star Platinum. They're like, oh, that's great. But then basically Polnareff gets possessed by Anubis as well.
Yep.
And it's just a comedy of errors.
It's a mess. It ends with Anubis at the bottom of the ocean resting.
And Jotaro
and like
yelling in the stomach.
Yelling. Oh right, he got stabbed. Anubis is yelling at the fish to like pick him up. Because fish obviously have thumbs that can wield swords.
Exactly. So Anubis is now sitting in the bottom of the Nile.
Whoops.
Not the concept, but the river. Next up, we meet a lady.
Is this Mariah?
Yes. Kakyoin's still messed up, so like the Speedwagon Foundation's like, hey, we're gonna get you healed up. And they're like, okay, cool. So everyone else goes off and does their own thing. Everyone kind of realizes like we're getting magnetized randomly. This is strange. And then Joseph's like, oh god, I'm a human magnet, help. This is real bad. And then we find Mariah, and she is the wielder of the stand. Bastet.
There's a scene in this where the old lady is hitting on Joseph, and she's real stoked about it.
This is the one.
Yeah. And then Abdul and Joseph are trying to unmagnetize from each other at a point, and it looks very, very sexual.
Yeah.
Very sexual. And like the children are all like, whoa. And the old lady's like, you don't even like women. Slap. Because I think there are like two scenes where they're just like,
there's one where like they're joined by like the lower waist.
And then there's the one where like Abdul's
face
looks, is like in Joseph's crotch.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Yeah, Mariah, and Mariah also hits on Joseph. She's like, if there had been other circumstances, you're a hot old man. Like, wow, Mariah. Also named after Mariah Carey.
But yeah, they get in rough shape because like they're just stuck together, and
everything is stuck to them. Like they get cars and bikes and all kinds of crazy things stuck to them. Like
they wind up getting stuck to the railroad. Yeah, it's all real bad. But then they're able to like trap Mariah in a
Mhm.
way that is able to counteract the magnetism.
They get her like in a pincer attack
Yeah.
at one point
And everything's
because she's like
good.
to murder Joseph with the electrical wire, and he's holding it off with Hermit Purple, and then eventually, like he's like, "Ah, we tricked you."
Mhm. While all that's happening, while Jotaro, Polnareff, and Iggy are off trying to find Joseph and Avdol because they've gone off and done their thing. They're off fighting Mariah. They get up and they encounter Alessi,
Mhm.
who has the stand set hike.
Oh my God.
This is the stand that will turn you into a kid. So we get baby Polnareff.
Oh my God, baby Polnareff was adorable. He had like big buck teeth, and his hair was the same for some reason. He was a little toddler, and this lady was like, "Hey, little boy, I'm gonna take care of you," and he's like, "This is great."
And then the
This
lady
is
gets
fine.
murdered.
I mean, not really. She just gets turned into a fetus.
Oh, right, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and
that
then
was
he's
bad.
like he's trying to protect her fetus. And Silver Chariot's a baby.
Silver Chariot's also a baby. And like he can't help get Jotaro to help him because like as soon as he finds Jotaro, he's like, I know you, but I don't know who you are. Crap.
The one negative about this part was that like the lady is washing Polnareff at a point, and he's like, "This is great. I'm getting my junk washed." I'm like, "Ugh, you're like 6."
Jesus, Polnareff.
Oh man, but all I want out of life, and I know it's not gonna happen. I want Polnareff to go back and find that lady, marry her, and be happy.
So like eventually Alessi finds Jotaro as well and like is able to hit Jotaro with the shadow of his stand and able to kind of make Jotaro into a kid, but also Jotaro as a kid is still like gonna whoop your ass.
Savage.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jotaro as a kid was adorably cute, and Star Platinum as a kid was adorable too. But it was just like, wait, Star Platinum wasn't a kid. It was Silver Chariot that was a kid. Star Platinum wasn't existing yet, but he still right?
And just beat him up.
He just beat him up as a little kid.
Yeah.
He was like 5 and just beat the ever loving crap out of him. Because Jotaro is insane.
Yep.
God,
yeah, they're able to get back to their normal ages and everything's fine. Polnareff finds the lady and like doesn't tell her who he is, but like does he gives her like an earring, doesn't he? One of his earrings?
Yeah, she finds his earring.
Oh yeah, she finds it.
She's like, "Do I know you?" And he's like, "No, I don't think so." And then like sadly walks away, and like him and Jotaro have like a bro moment.
It's real good. It's real good.
Really good. It's really good. I like this episode.
Yeah.
The kid versions were really, really cute.
Also, Joseph is able to do another spirit photo, and he figures out where Dio is in Cairo.
Cairo.
And now, following that, it's time to play some cards. You know,
Oh my
you
God.
gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them. As we face off against Darby the gambler.
Oh my God.
Because they go into this cafe, and they're like, "Hey, we need to find out where this mansion is." And everyone's like, "Nope, I don't know." And Darby's like, "Yeah, no, I know where that is, but if you want the information, let's play some cards." And basically, Darby's whole thing is like he makes people bet their soul, and then he acquires their soul
Into a coin.
it's a poker chip.
Oh, sorry. I don't know anything about card games. You learned this from me playing Dead Rising.
True. So like he puts everyone's like soul into like a poker chip, and he just has this collection of poker chips and everything. And basically they try to figure out ways to show like, oh well, he's cheating. And then Joseph's like, well, I'm gonna out cheat him. We're gonna do this thing by dropping liquid into the glass, and if the glass overfills, you lose. But then like he gets outsmarted by Darby because he put like chocolate under it to make it to change the effects of the glass, and then Joseph's like, oh crap, now I'm a poker chip.
No.
And then Jotaro's like, well, I'll fight him in poker.
Well, because Polnareff is also made it into a poker chip. And so then it's just Abdul and Jotaro. And Jotaro's like, I got this.
Abdul's like,
I can do it.
oh god, we're boned.
Yeah, Abdul's like screaming the entire time. And there's like a kid that was hired by Darby to cheat, but like he's trying to figure out how Jotaro is cheating because Jotaro's like, I got this.
Hmm.
I'll bet my soul. I'll bet Abdul's soul. I'll bet my mom's soul.
I'll bet
And
everyone's
he just
soul.
bet he's bet everybody's soul. He's like, I got this. I got this. This is fine. Whatever. I do this. And so Darby kind of like loses his mind on this
Hmm.
because he doesn't understand. Like he's like, is the hand that good? Like I'm cheating
Right.
and I should be able to win, but he seems so confident. I don't understand. Why is he so confident?
Because Jotaro like loses like the first couple of hand or like the first hand pretty
Mhm.
easily, and then Darby's basically stacked to death. He's like he knows what cards Jotaro has. Like he knows he has dealt him junk, and then
Yeah.
Jotaro's like, I'll bet my soul, I'll bet Abdul's soul, I'll bet everyone's soul, whoever.
He doesn't even look at the
But
cards,
I'm not gonna look at the cards. I'm all in. By the way, can I get a drink and a smoke? Let's do
which is
that.
with the Japanese censored like
Yeah.
his entire face.
So he forces Darby to go all in as well, and then
Darby has like a mental break.
yeah, Jotaro's like, I'll put Kakyoin's soul on as well. My mom's
Yeah.
soul. Everyone else anyone else I know soul. It's all there. And then Darby's just like, I know he has junk, but like he's so confident, he can't be bluffing, right? Like there's no way
What did Star Platinum do?
he's betting with all this. And like yeah, he just freaks the out and then passes out, and then it's like, oh okay, Jotaro wins.
And Jotaro turned it over. He's like, "Oh man, I shouldn't bet any of that. This is a terrible hand."
Yeah.
I love that part where he just flips it over. He's like, "Oh God, why did I do that?
This was real bad.
It's a bad gamble."
So yeah, they defeat Darby, but they don't really get much of information of where Dio is.
Yeah.
So after that, we reunite with some old friends. We reunite with Whole Horse, and he is somehow
Mhm.
teamed up with Boingo.
Boingo!
Prior to that, Whole Horse met up with Dio and is like, "Man, that things are bad." And Dio's like, "Hey, you better not up again. If you do, bad things are gonna happen to you." Whole Horse is like, "Ugh, I'm real scared,"
He like threatens, or he's like going to kill Dio at one point.
and like just gets scared out of his boots because of it.
Yeah. Which we really needed this episode because like the last one was pretty funny at the end when Jotaro was like, I shouldn't have done that. That was dumb. But we've had some heavy episodes here and there, and so we get this one that's just like straight up comic
Yeah.
relief the entire dang time.
So Whole Horse and Boingo are now teamed up. Jotaro is still trying to, or Jotaro's group is also trying to still find out where Dio's hiding out. They find this one guy who's like, "Yeah, I could find out where this is. I know this town like the back of my hand." He's like, "Give me 2 hours tops. I will figure out where this building is."
That's later, right? That's in a different
I
episode.
think it's this episode, isn't it? Or yeah,
I don't think so.
it is the 2 episodes from now. You're right.
Yeah.
But they are still trying to figure out where Dio is. Also, apparently Holly's real bad. She has days to live.
hmm
It's real bad. Boingo gives Whole Horse a prediction that he's able to kill the group by sticking his fingers up Polnareff's nose.
Yeah.
Whole Horse is like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There's no way that's going to work. And then he does it, but like it doesn't really go out the way he wants it to. He's able to hold Polnareff up, but then like everyone else just kind of gums around, is like, what are you doing? Why are you being weird?
Like Polnareff is trying to indicate that like Whole Horse is behind him with a gun in his back and no one's understanding what's happening.
He's like motioning with his eyes like, guys, it's all good, right? And everyone's like, Polnareff, why are you being an idiot? Stop. And then like a car almost comes in and runs everyone over, but everyone's fine. And then Boingo's like, hey, if you shoot your gun down this pipe, it'll ricochet out and then come back around and do all this crazy stuff and then shoot Jotaro in the head.
But it has to be exactly at noon.
Mm-hmm.
And so Whole Horse like bribes these guys who are working on the pipes. He's like, I need this. I need these pipes. and he's looking at his watch and he shoots it right at noon. And then he hears a radio announcement like a minute later that's like, hey, it's now noon. And he's like, what?
Yeah, so his watch was off. Also, like, Polnareff sneezes and Jotaro is able to like move because of the sneeze.
Yep.
And then Whole Horse gets hit by them.
He gets hit by the bullet, and then Boingo is like, you know what? I don't want to do this life anymore. This isn't a good life. I'm just gonna, reform my existence and no more evil doing. And then like doesn't
he makes Iggy mad and gets him and puts himself in the hospital with Whole Horse. There
you go. He makes Iggy mad and gets beat up. Hilarious.
Real good. So after this, we get some animal on animal action.
This is where we have the guy who
says this is where the guy who's like, I'll find it in 2 hours tops. And we were both like, that's a death flag.
Yeah, totally. He's going to die. Immediately, we knew he was going to die.
So the guy does find where Dio is.
He does.
But,
it's his word, but...
he runs into Pet Shop.
Yep.
Who has the stand Horus, and Pet Shop obliterates this dude.
Yeah, he gets wrecked. And also, like, decapitates 2 dogs.
Yeah. This little kid's like, oh,
Yikes.
My dogs are there. Oh, no. And then the dog gets decapitated, and Iggy's like, kid, you gotta get away from here. It's real bad.
Yeah, this is like the episode where Iggy gets, like, actual characterization because he gets a voice. Yeah, he talks. He gets a different face structure. Like, he's drawn entirely different. Mm-hmm. And we get, like, more of his motivations where he's, like, originally like, I don't really care about any of this. I'm just here. And then he runs at a pet shop and this kid, and he's protecting the kid. And like, all right, Iggy. Doing all right here, buddy.
So, yeah, he has to fight Pet Shop, and it's rough because Pet Shop has all these, like, ice attacks that can take down his sand and all that stuff and just really mess him up. He has to go down into, like, the sewers to try and get out, but, like, it gets real bad to where, like, he loses a paw.
Yeah, he has to gnaw his own leg off to get free because we had a cliffhanger where it's like him frozen to the ice and then Pet Shop attacking. We're like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then it shows him he chewed his own leg off. God.
And then eventually
he's like underwater.
They go underwater into the river, and Iggy's like just got this dome trying to like protect himself, and Pet Shop's just destroying it and breaking it. But Iggy's able to like able to like get out of the way in time while it's like collapsing, and basically cause Pet Shop to like destroy himself.
Mm-hmm. He his beak, he ends up biting something, the beak.
Yeah.
And so that's what destroys Pet Shop.
And Iggy,
it's a pretty intense scene.
And then after that, Iggy's just like, well, I'm done. Not coming back from this.
The kid doctors him back because the kid finds him after he saved him, and he's like, oh no, your leg, we gotta take care of you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Iggy gets all doctored up from the Speedwagon Foundation, all that. Here comes Kakyoin back with his sunglasses.
Sweet sunglasses.
And this is the end of the episode, which was hype as
oh boy, so good.
Because it's like, they're like, okay, they finally get the information where Dio's hideout is, and they like go to where the mansion is, and it's just like, it's so good. It's like you immediately watch that and you're just like, yeah, let's do this.
So ready.
I just remember texting you when all that happened. We were just like, this is awesome.
It was amazing. I love that scene.
Oh, it's so good.
Legitimately one of the like most hype scenes I've ever seen in any anime. Period.
Because like
I was ready.
Yeah, it's been like what 40 episodes, and like we're finally here. It's like it is finally time for everything to go down.
Except for it's not, because we run into some more people.
It's true, but like we are finally getting close to the end.
Yeah.
So we meet another Darby, the younger brother of Darby from earlier.
The younger Darby.
The younger Darby. He pulls
also steals souls.
He pulls Jotaro, Kakyoin, and Joseph into like this other world within the mansion, and he's like, "Hey, I got these dolls. These are my souls, by the way. I do the same thing as my brother, except I'm like crazier and I'm not like cool enough. Like I don't do cool things like poker. I'm just like I'm just gonna do what I can to defeat you. Hey, you want to play some video games?
Kakyoin's like, I'll play
I
you.
know this racing game. I will win.
Which, like, NES racing games did not look like that.
So, like, they go through this, like, whole sequence, and Kakyoin thinks he's got this cool strategy to win, but then Darby counteracts his plan and is able to win, and Kakyoin is now a doll.
Yeah, he loses his soul pretty quickly.
And then and he's like, all right, well, I'll fight Jotaro. Jotaro's like, well, what games you got? I'll play this baseball game, I guess. Let's play some RBI baseball.
Originally, Joseph was like, I'll do it. And Jojo was like, have you even seen a video game? Like, no, man, sit down. And
also, Jotaro has not played video games either.
Yeah, he hasn't. And that becomes very clear because he's like, I'm going to pick this team because they look nice. Even though, like, all the characters just become Star Platinum for some reason.
It's real good.
Oh, it's really, really funny. Oh, that's a baseball.
Oh, that's a baseball. Joseph has to like use her on purpose. Like everything's on the up and up. He's not cheating. It's all good. It's all legit. This is an emulation. You're not gonna get banned from runs if you do this illegally. Oh yeah. So like Jotaro's real bad at first, but then eventually he's like, oh, I figured it out. But then Darby counteracts him by like doing a pitching change on his third batter and gets him out, and then basically it just becomes like a battle of wills.
It's interesting because at one point he almost pulls the same thing on the younger Darby that he did on the older Darby because he's like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then he's like, how could he get it? How would he understand it? He's still bad at it. How does this make sense? Whoa, thunder. So he almost pulls that, but then he pulls himself out of that. He doesn't go in the same loop that his older brother did.
Like he's like, well, maybe he's like watching my eyes or something like that, and then well, they figure out like Darby's able to like read minds, so like eventually like Jotaro just puts his hat on like the monitor, like can't see my eyes now.
The hat is so funny because he literally takes it off and it has like the back of it looks like his hair. It's ridiculous. It's so good. I love that hat. I want one of those hats.
And then basically Jotaro's is like, hey, I'm going to throw this pitch. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to tell you straight up. And Darby's like, that's not going to happen. And this is where you get like the yes, no. And then they're able to beat him through the power of baseball, and also Joseph being a cunning little jerk.
Man, Joseph's so smart. Like at certain points you're like, man, Joseph's an idiot. But then he does stuff like this and you're like, God, Joseph, you are yes.
It's real good.
Smart little booger. And he ends up beating Jotaro beats the crap out of the younger Darby. Because that's the whole scene of like, are you gonna beat me up now? Yes. So all that's happening, and then meanwhile,
we learn of Dio's right-hand man.
Oh my God, there's like a straight-up decapitation that was terrifying.
The Man of Ice. Vanilla Ice. Or Cool Ice.
Oh Cool Ice. I'm so upset that he wasn't Vanilla Ice in our version, but
yeah, so like he's like, hey Dio, let's figure this out. All right, if I gotta cut off my head, I'll do it. Here's some blood,
sure,
buddy. Because we learned at some point that like Dio has not fully gained control over Jonathan's body. He needs the blood of the Joestars to fully like assimilate into that body and make it all work and be great and everything. And Vanilla Ice is like, hey, I can do that. Here's some blood. And Dio's like, blood. I mean, thanks, but it's not gonna work. But here, you want to be a vampire now? That'd be cool, right?
He doesn't tell him that though. He just does it.
So Polnareff, Avdol, and Iggy have been waiting outside the mansion because the others are like, hey, if we're not here in 15 minutes, you know, things are bad. So probably come in and figure out what's happening. They beat up a stand user by the name of Kenny G who was making illusions.
Yeah, Iggy figured that one out pretty quick.
And then here comes Vanilla Ice's stand, Cream, and he eats Avdol.
Yeah, it led to a lot of confusion with the two of us because Abdul's arms are just left, and we're like,
is he dead? Is he alive? What's going on?
Because I mean, he's saving Polnareff. He basically it was intended for Polnareff to get eaten by Cream, but he pushes him out of the way after they had made an agreement like we will not protect each other. We have to go through. And but yeah, all we have left are his arms, and it's like, did he actually die? And so like there was kind of like a week or two with the two of us that are like, is he dead? Yeah. Did they kill him already?
Because it's like it's instant. It's like done.
Yeah, there's like
he doesn't he doesn't put up a fight or anything, and it's just like he's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the next episode shows that like it's Polnareff and Iggy versus Vanilla Ice, and they're all just trying to figure out a way to defeat him and get out of it. And Iggy gets beat up real bad.
Yeah, basically like Vanilla Ice goes into like I don't know what the right word is, but he basically goes like into a tantrum and starts kicking the crap out of Iggy.
Oh, because this is when Iggy uses like he makes a clone of Dio.
Out of sand.
And that's how like they're gonna try and like lure him into a false sense of security, and then Vanilla's like, "You jerk! How dare you? That Dio's my good friend."
Which one of my favorite parts of this episode was the two of them like hanging out in the sand, like in the stairs, and like lifting their heads up. That was really, really funny. And I needed that because the rest of the episode was really heartbreaking. Again, I mentioned earlier, Polnareff is probably my favorite. I have a really strong affinity for Jotaro Joseph and Polnareff in this, and I really liked Abdul as well. So I was really upset that he died. But Polnareff has a real bad day in this episode. He really does.
Like his leg gets really badly damaged.
His toes are damaged.
Right.
And he's watching Iggy get the crap beat out of him, and he's like slowly seeing Vanilla Ice use Cream in like a circle to come near him to kill him, and he's just like,
well, this is it.
Well, it's this great sequence where he's like thinking of the options, and he's like, the handsome Polnareff finds a way to counterattack. B, his friends come for him. Or C, like I forget exactly how they worded it, but basically like it's not like life isn't fair, but it's something like life's a that's the C option. Yeah. And so like he keeps thinking like A, the handsome Polnareff is going to come up with a counterattack, and then like he ends the episode with, I guess maybe it is C, life is a and I was like, oh no. And then like it shows that beautiful scene of him like sitting there, and he does like the peace sign to Iggy, and then like you see Vanilla Ice coming at him like, what?
Especially because like, you know, Polnareff and Iggy had like this, you know, just like budding frustrations with each other throughout the entirety of this, and here's Polnareff sacrificing himself to save Iggy. But then like the next episode we learn it's the opposite, and it's Iggy who sacrificed himself to save Polnareff. He
grabs him up with his full stand, and he's like laughing to himself because Iggy's like, hey, I got you. But he dies. He uses the last of his energy to save Polnareff, which then like Polnareff's like, okay, I've lost Abdul and I've lost Iggy to this guy. I am going to his day up.
Vanilla Ice is
so he's like,
he uses like the sunlight to help him because he knows he's a vampire, and also just like beats the ever-loving out of him.
Yeah, he figures out that he's a vampire. Like the one part where he gets like stabbed through the back of the head is like so intense. But yeah, he is not having it anymore. He's like, you killed too many of my friends. It's really upsetting.
He does the thing. So also during this episode, we see that Suzy Q's in Japan now. She is at Holly's home, and because before this, everyone had been like, we can't tell her that Holly's in bad shape. cannot do that. And then like eventually she just figures out herself like, yeah, she's probably in real bad shape. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dumb.
Yeah, Susie Q came across as pretty dumb in part 2, but she's really not that dumb in part 3. She's like, I know what's happening. I know my husband well enough. I've been with him for ages.
Yeah.
Like, I know when something's not right.
So she stays with Holly and basically figures like, hey, I'm going to stay here with her. And then hopefully Jotaro and Joseph are going to do what they need to do to fix this.
Which, that's really cute. Like, she believes in them wholeheartedly. Like, she knows that they can do it. I was like, oh, Susie Q.
Speaking of those, the 3 that were in the weird other dimension have come out. They find one of Dio's servants, which they call him like, what do they call him in English? Like loser or something?
I think so.
Something like that. Let me see here. It's something. It's just demeaning. Is like the word that they use for him, but regardless, like they find him, they're like, hey, take us to Dio. Because they see, like, he tries to disguise himself like this, I'm a woman, help me, please. And then they're like, no. And they like punch him in the face.
They just call him loser.
Yeah. Because like you see like him disguised as this young woman. And she's like, help me. Dio's trying to murder us. And then Jotaro just punches her in the face. You're like, what the It's like, oh,
yeah, it's like, whoa, Jotaro.
It's just some Dio dude who's trying to get him. And then basically the end of this episode is Polnareff. He's got himself kind of patched up, and he is walking up the stairs to fight Dio.
Oh my god!
Which was hype as.
Like, we keep getting these like ending hype scenes. I was like, yes.
I was like, yeah, Polnareff, go beat the out of Dio. Yeah.
Which, like, after everything Polnareff's been through in the last 24 hours, like, yes, or even just over the arc, but recently in the past 24 hours, like, you know that he is ready to do this, and he's used the curtains and has patched himself up, and he's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. So basically now we start Dio's arc with the final 4 episodes.
Which... Before the one happens, we have to talk about the openings, but let's go talk about the first ones first.
So this episode starts off with basically what happened at the end of the episode. Previously, Polnareff is walking up to Dio, and Dio's like, oh, Polnareff, I remember when you devoted your life to me, and now I see you here trying to fight me. And Polnareff's like, I'm going to whoop your ass. But like,
he basically gives Polnareff like a choice. He's like, you can come up the stairs and fight me, or you can back down them and, you know, give up, and I'll let you live.
And Polnareff's like, nah, I'm gonna fight you.
I'm coming up.
But he keeps realizing like he goes up a stair, but he realizes he like backed down a step. He's like, what the is going on?
Dio's like, I see you're not willing to fight me, and he's like, what? No, I want to fight. Let me fight.
The others arrive, and Dio kind of dips out. This is where they learn that like Avdol and Iggy are gone. Because in the previous episode as well, we get that scene after he defeats Vanilla Ice,
the ghosts of
Avdol and Dio, not Dio, Avdol and Iggy wave goodbye to Polnareff.
Oh, it's got Iggy like riding on Avdol's back. It's so sad.
Oh, good. So basically from here on out, it is everyone chasing after Dio.
And it's great because, like, we have the scene with the coffin where they're like, all right, he's a vampire. Punch a hole in the wall first, then open this up. And then they're like, all right, loser, open it. Loser's like, okay, I open it. I'm sorry, Dio. I didn't mean to do this. I promise. And then, like, they open it, and then, like, loser is in there.
He's inside it, and everyone's like, what the And they're like, yo, this is real sketch. We need to get out of here. This is bad.
Yikes.
So basically, they get out, and then they split up into teams where it's Joseph and Kakyoin, and Polnareff's like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And then Joseph's like, Jotaro, you need to go with him. Like, he's going to do something real stupid. And you got to make sure he does it.
Yeah, because they have an entire argument over, like, all right, it's getting to be dark, like, we can't fight him in the dark, that's a bad idea. And Polnareff's like, no, like, we have to do it, we have to fight him now, it's our opportunity. Everybody's like, no, dude, we can't do that. So he's like, all right, y'all, I'm out. I'm gonna do this on my own. Except for he doesn't say y'all because he's French.
So yeah, and then that's when they're like, "Hey, Jotaro, make sure you keep an eye on him." So Joseph and Kakyoin kind of go off and try and find him.
Steal a
They steal a
truck.
truck. Dio steals a limousine from just like some politician. He's like,
Is a
"You
politician.
drive me, follow that truck right there." This guy's like, "Ah."
I don't do anything for anybody.
Uh, Kakyoin tries to fight the world, which is Dio's stand, and kind of gets
Oh, hold on. Before you talk about
okay.
that, JoJo steals a motorcycle,
Oh yeah.
and it's really funny because there's something with Polnareff that he says. He's like trying to figure out how to make it work.
Oh, Polnareff's trying to hotwire it.
Yeah,
And then Jotaro just like kicks it or punches it, and he's like, "It works."
yeah, it was amazing. That was a really funny
It's
scene.
real good.
So they steal a motorcycle. Anyway, Kakuin's like, I'm gonna fight the world.
And
This is a
Joseph's
good
like, "This is a
idea.
bad idea."
Joseph was right.
Kakyoin kind of gets a little bit of a fight in, but he's able to figure out like, oh, so Dio stand is probably a little bit more close range, so that's something
Mhm.
good to know. But also it's rough. That leads into the next episode where we get some Kakyoin backstory, and then be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm real thankful for my experiences with everyone."
Death flag.
Death flag. Yep. He's able to trap Dio in Hierophant Green's like wire barrier. And he's like, "I got him, yeah." But then immediately as he's about to like inflict like all his attacks onto Dio, Dio activates the world,
Hmm.
and this is where you get to see
What the world can
yes,
do.
because like immediately Kakyoin just like gets blown away into like what a clock tower or something,
It's the water
the water
tower.
tower, and
He
then
has a giant hole in his
mhm.
torso.
and then you see that oh the world can stop time.
Yeah. And he leaves a hint for Joseph because he doesn't attack. And Dio's like, he missed. What an idiot.
He
He
like
used the
he
last of
shoots
his
the clock
energy.
tower.
Yeah. And Dio is taunting him, and Joseph is like, he wouldn't have missed on purpose. Like, he wouldn't have missed like that. He did that on purpose. Now I have to figure out why he did that. And Joseph is like,
Mm-hmm. So Joseph's able to kind of deduce what happened, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go tell the
yeah,
others."
yep.
Dio's able to catch up to him though, and like messes him up, and then but Jotaro is able to get there, and then we get a stare down with Jotaro and Dio for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That leads us in. Oh, by the way, Kakyoin's dead. In case you weren't
Yeah,
aware,
Kagoin's
he's real
really
dead.
dead. He got a giant hole punched into him.
So we hit the penultimate episode, which is where we get the opening change.
Which we had at the first part of the season Stand Prime, which was
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, and it does like the history of the series and all,
Right.
really really good. But then like we ended up getting the Joe
Yeah.
Stars opening.
Which is great because it's like you get the artist who did the part 1 opening, the part 2 opening, and then Stand Proud, and they just throw them all
Mhm.
together and make this.
And it's a really really good
It's really
opening. So
good.
we get this opening on this episode, and it's fantastic. And then you get to tell us what
So
happens.
like I'd been mentioning it to you, I was like, I hope Toonami, because they usually cut up the openings to fit
Mhm.
TV time and all that stuff. I was like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see the full opening like for this week, and it's gonna do something. And I didn't tell you what, and you're just like, what's they gonna do? So it goes through the entire opening. We get to see actually the full opening this time as well, which is real rad. And then right before it gets to the end, like you see the world show up and hear Dio yell the world, and he stops the opening and
Hmm.
walks past Jotaro, and then immediately resumes time, and then they just start fighting. It's so rad.
It's so good. I love it. I love it so much.
It's real good. So we get to this episode, and it is Jotaro versus Dio.
Mm-hmm.
which Dio's already
What we've
like,
always
yeah,
wanted.
Dio's already like, I can beat this guy, whatever. He's pathetic. He tries to stop time at one point and is like, well, I'm gonna finish you off, and he sees like Jotaro's like hand flinch. He's like, wait a minute, that can't be. There's no way he can move. That's impossible. So like he resumes time again, and then a little bit later stops it again, and he sees the same thing happen, but then he realizes that like Jotaro has like a magnet attached to him to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dio's like, it's just a trick. What a pathetic loser. So he's like, well, you're pretty much done. Well, I'm going to throw all these knives at you and resume time and just see what happens. So like he throws all these knives. Jotaro's able to like kind of deflect some of them, but there's a bunch of them that do hit. And basically Dio thinks that he's done it. He's finished off Jotaro. Because Jotaro just like lands in a heap and he just looks completely done.
There's blood everywhere.
Blood everywhere.
Knives sticking out of him.
And he constantly tries to check on Jotaro and like, I know these Joestars, they're crafty. Gotta make sure this guy's dead. So like he checks his breathing at one point. He's like, well, he's not breathing. And then like at one point he's like, he goes to the ground and is like, is his heart beating? Can I hear his heart? And Jotaro's like, well, gotta use Star Platinum and stop my own heart.
That was so intense.
All the while this is happening, Polnareff pops up out of nowhere and just stabs Dio in the head.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah!
God, it was so cool.
But it basically doesn't do a whole lot and Polnareff gets knocked out.
Yeah, Dio was like, man, if you'd done like an inch to the left, it would have been all right, but too bad for you.
So he once again, like, he figures Jotaro's done, so he just goes over to, like, kind of smash his face in. And while Dio is kind of, like, lackadaisical about this, Jotaro just pops back up because he's been covered himself in books.
In magazines.
Yeah, that's how he's able to prevent the knives.
Survive the knives.
Yeah, and just punches Dio's skull in.
It's intense.
You're like, oh,
And this is where it paralyzes him, right?
And Jotaro's like, I'm going to you up.
Which was hype.
So he does that and just like starts beating the out of him and just like punches him every which way. But also he punches him to where Dio's able to kind of like grab onto a car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right. He's able to get a ride or get thrown all the way over to where Joseph is. And Dio is able to get Joseph's blood. Which
the end of this episode is great because Dio's like, don't you recognize the street? And Jotaro's like, oh.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, I've made a real mistake. I made a terrible mistake.
I've made a little bit of an error here. And yeah, you see Joseph and I was about to be
real mad.
Yes.
So we get to the finale and the opening just starts with Dio just sucking all the blood out of Joseph.
Getting the green lipstick and a new outfit. Joseph's like gray and mummified.
Joseph's soul comes out, and we're like, "No, Joseph Joestar, you put your soul back in your body."
We were both screaming at Joseph Joestar to put his soul back in there because we're like, "Nope, no, you go back in now, not allowed." And he's like giving Jotaro a pep talk the whole time, like,
"You motherfucker,
Joseph Joestar, I know
this.
You're good at running, but this is not the time to run."
So Joseph's like, hey, don't fight with anger. Like, maintain your emotions while you're fighting Dio. And then Jotaro's like, F that. I'm gonna beat this guy's ass.
He just killed everybody.
But the only bad thing is that like Dio is able to control the world better now with the blood of the Joestars flowing throughout him. So he's like, I'm gonna just beat the shit out of Jotaro and throw this road flattening thing onto him.
Did you just say road
flattening thing? It's the thing that smooths out a road.
Like a steamroller type thing?
Yeah, something like that. So he does that and he thinks like, oh, I've done it. I've beat him. And
yeah, because there's blood and he's like, all right.
So he stops.
He's like counting down his 9 seconds.
He stopped time counting his 9 seconds and just like lamenting in his glory. And then immediately he gets to 8 and he's like, and Jotaro's like, sup.
From behind him, he's like, what?
Dio's like, what the what? Why can't I move? When he started doing that, I wondered if like Joseph had done something, like he had infused his blood with hormone and used that to like try and with Dio.
Oh, that would be cool.
But it was just like, it was Jotaro being like, hey, I can stop time too. You're
I love that he figured out how to do it. I was like, yes.
And then just like he punches him once and just literally obliterates his legs, punches him again, and just blows up Dio.
Yeah, which the funny thing is he punches him and obliterates his legs, and he's like, it'd be really cheap to beat you now. I'm gonna wait till those heal, then I'm gonna fight you again.
As soon as you heal, I'm you up.
And he like blows half of Dio off, like just. Phrasing. Like his head's gone, like half of his shoulders are gone, like he just obliterates him. It's beautiful. And then like we get scenes ambulances, and they're like, well, Kakyoin's dead. Polnareff's okay.
He's unconscious, but we got Joseph. Why did you want to get Joseph's body and Dio's body in the same ambulance?
And Jotaro was like, I have an idea.
So Jotaro was like, hey, what if we perform a blood transfusion from Dio into my grandpa?
They're like, we can't do that. His heart's not beating. He's like, I have experience with that.
I can do this. Trust me.
So he gets his heart beating again, and they transfuse the blood, and then like the eyes of Joseph open and they're like freaky, and there's purple. Like this weird aura around him.
And he's like, you really f***ed up now, Jotaro. You thought that was the end of me? I'm back. And Jotaro's like, I'm gonna beat you up. And then Joseph's like, wait, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. It's joke. And like Jotaro's like, all right, I gotta make sure you're actually Joseph. So what was this movie Bo Derek starred in? Who sang the parody of Beat It called Eat It? And Joseph's like, I know this answer. And then Jotaro's like, well, it's definitely him, because who else would know this dumb
I love that Joseph is such a troll at this point. Like, he's literally died and come back, and he's just like, all right, time to just troll him.
But of course he is. This is the same person who showed up at his own funeral.
It's so Joseph. Like, it is so on brand. It's perfect. It's so perfect. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It was a good way to end.
It really was, because you needed like a real good goof there to get over all the intense drama that was happening. After that, the sun's up, so they pull over, they throw Dio's body out, and then just let it burn in the sun.
Yep.
Effective immediately, Dio is dead.
We get a scene of Holly being okay.
She wakes up and is like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And Suzuki's like, "Oh, cool, you're good to go. That's great. Yay!"
They did it.
Holly's just like, "I know Joseph and Jotaro are coming home." And Suzuki's like, "What?"
Then we get to the airport.
And it's Polnareff, Jotaro, and Joseph, and they're like,
buy 3 tickets.
Yep, just 3 tickets. And they're like, Polnareff, you're sure you want to go back home? Like, you could stay here with us. It'd be all cool. Polnareff's like, nah, I don't have a family anymore, but France is where I belong. And he says, they have an emotional goodbye. They do a group hug. They do the slow-mo walk away from each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Joseph puts on his Walkman.
Mm-hmm. That's a real good touch.
It is. It really is.
God.
And that's it.
Yeah. They go back home.
There's no preview of part 4.
Nope. Which is kind of interesting, but...
Yeah. Oh, man, though. What a good season.
What a really good series.
I struggle because, like, I really love Battle Tennessee, but Stardust Crusaders is really freaking good.
And isn't even coming from someone that, like, because you are notorious because you don't like long anime.
Oh, I hate it. I absolutely hate long anime.
And
I hate it.
And here you are a year later being like, Yo, this was great.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like A plus would watch again, and when I have money, we'll definitely buy on Blu-ray
Hmm.
because holy crap, it was so
It
good.
was amazing.
I was legitimately shocked. Like I I'm still shocked that I watched JoJo to begin with, but like I am legitimately shocked how good this entire series
I
is. Like
am.
the writing is phenomenal. The character arcs are
Hmm.
fantastic. The art's terrible. Except for when it's pastel, in which case it's beautiful. Um, they utilize like the musical references and music in and of itself in like amazing ways. Like it's just so perfectly done. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's a reason why this is one of the most beloved series out there.
I I know. It's just I never expected me to be one that was
Exactly.
like,
Yeah. It's still
man, I
surprising
love
to me
JoJo.
that you are still continuously like, yo, this series is great.
It's great. It's fantastic. Like I really miss having my Joseph Wall scroll up. I miss seeing him every day when I wake up. Um, and again, I when I get money, I'm gonna get this on Blu-ray, and I really am considering looking into like some JoJo figurines. Yeah. I saw some sweet ones on eBay once, and I'm like, I might do this.
We're
They have a really good Battle Tennessee one too,
I
but
bet.
that's a different one.
We currently are playing the Super Famicom JoJo game, which
We
is
are.
weird. I expect
It's really
eventually we
weird.
will probably play as well the fighting game.
Yeah, we played some of it,
No,
but
no, no, not that fighting game. The like the PlayStation
oh,
era fighting game, the Capcom made
oh,
fighting game.
that
Yeah,
one.
because that one's
Okay, because
that
we
is
haven't played
Stardust
the.
Crusaders specifically.
Wow, 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 wow. All right, I'm interested.
Yeah. So yeah, there's probably we'll probably talk about more JoJo at some point, obviously in terms of like that stuff. But obviously as well, we will be talking about the next iteration, the next season, probably next year at some point. But by the time this comes out later tonight, if you're listening to it on release day, Diamond is
Uh-huh.
Unbreakable premieres on Toonami. So we will be diving into that as well. Which is 39 episodes, so a little bit shorter than this since shorter than Stars Crusaders.
How many episodes did it end up being? I don't actually know.
Uh, Stars Crusaders, it was 48.
Wow,
Yeah.
I can't believe I watched 48
Right.
episodes.
um, there's not a lot of English voice actors currently announced for the series. The only ones we know so far are like Matt Mercer's recurring as Jotaro. Richard Epcar will be coming back as Joseph, and David Vincent will return as the narrator. And then Billy Kametz is Josuke. But so far, that's all we know. Like obviously, we'll probably know via credits list later tonight when that airs, like who else is who, and via just like hearing people. So it'll be
And we get a different art
we
style.
get Diamond is Unbreakable has like a way more pastel art style compared to
I'm
pretty much
so
anything else
hyped.
in the series because even like the part 5, which is coming out relatively soon in Japan at least, is
Mm.
more of like back in the Stardust Crusader style rather than
Yeah,
this. But yeah, I feel like if anything, if art wise, if there's going to be a part of JoJo that you will like, it is probably going to be this one with how pastel it is.
I love the pastel scenes. Pastel scenes in JoJo are like the A plus scenes for
Mm-hmm.
me. Beautiful.
But yeah, I am excited to finally get to watch Diamond is Unbreakable because it's hard to say like, oh, you've heard I've heard good things about a JoJo arc because you can constantly hear that about all of them, but like I definitely remember hearing a lot of good things about this when it was airing back in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited bike about
Mm-hmm.
it.
So yeah, we'll definitely reconvene next year sometime whenever we wrap this up and we'll talk about that. Maybe also by the time they'll dub the OVAs as well, we'll be able to throw those in as well.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, we will definitely be talking about that at some point. But for now, Stars Crusaders is real good.
It's real good. Holy
Man,
crap, it's good.
definitely. If you were like us, a year or two back and hadn't checked out JoJo, like it's definitely something you should check out. Like
Yeah.
all the hype it gets, it lives up to it.
It's deserved. Wow. Wow. And honestly, like one of the things that even just intrigues me so much about it is like all the musical references, because like that was one of the things I loved about Guilty Gear too. It's just a thing for me.
They're just constant and everywhere.
It's funny because like you're always trying to figure out like, all right, what's this a reference to? It's great. But like things that I've learned about JoJo, nothing is accidental.
No.
Ever.
No.
So,
and it's great.
I love this. I love it. I'm sad to see it go, but I'm glad that we'll get something new to replace it at least. I'm glad that there's no layover here. It's just like straight into it.
I think that was the thing we had. Was there was a layover, wasn't there, between parts 2 and parts 3?
I think so.
Maybe that was the thing.
Because I remember I was real stoked when we found out Matt Mercer was going to be Jotaro.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Stardust Crusaders is good, my dude.
Stardust Crusaders, and it is.
Don't lick cherries.
Don't lick cherries.
Ugh.
Lick.
No. How dare.
So yeah, definitely watch this show. We probably said at the end of the last episode we did on JoJo, but hey, continue to watch the show. It's great.
Yep.
But that's going to do it for this episode. So if you would like more from us, go to seasonanimecheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this. You can listen to our episode on parts 1 and 2, where it's the first season technically, and relive what we thought about that. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you want more from Ann Ladium, go to annladium.com. She wrote a JoJo piece at one point, so you should find that and read it.
I did.
Yeah. She's also got columns and reviews as well on her site. If you want to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. It's where we do Twitter. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. If you would like to support our podcast by giving us like $1.
Yay.
Next week, we will do something, as we usually say.
Yeah, we have ideas.
That we do. So, yeah. We'll come up with something cool then. But until next time, watch out for Dio.
Yeah.